Welcome everybody to the Formation Lap podcast. Get it right this time. Second take. If you're watching this live on Twitch, you get to see both takes. Obviously, as usual, me and Lucy are here to talk about Formula One and specifically the Japanese Grand Prix. But with us this week, we have our friend sim racing extraordinaire Neil.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Neil. I'm glad I can finally come on the podcast. It's been like I wanted to when you guys started, but then it's never lined up. Honestly until basically now. And then to be honest, it was kind of lining up at the end of last year, but it wouldn't have made sense to come in like literally at the last race of the year.
Yeah,
So,
we had some
made sense
technical
to it,
issues last year. It's kind of our find our feet year, and obviously with time
Yeah.
zones, Neil's actually in India, so what's it like?
Yeah, that's true. I
11
actually I
o'clock?
moved back in the meantime.
What is it
Right
currently?
now it's 11:20.
Yeah.
11:20.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, time zones are hard. So, but I thought we'd
Yeah, but I mean,
thought
as of you guys doing daylight savings again, it's a bit less hard. So
yeah,
that
exactly.
does help.
And it kind of lined up with your favorite Grand Prix of the year as well, which is Japan and Suzuka. So
I like the track, but I
well,
didn't really like the race that much. I thought it was okay, but
we'll get there. We'll get there. There's a
yeah, we'll get to that.
we'll talk about the cars and the regulations at the end. We'll go through the race first. So for everybody who hasn't seen this before, we are going to look at the race highlights on the official Formula One YouTube channel. I'll point over that way because that's where my screen is with the video. So all the timestamps I'm calling out are from that, essentially, so you can load it up, follow along. I'm just watching Lucy subtly try and eat an onion ring. Oh, right.
Also, as my homework for this podcast, I also watched it's a one topic I wanted to bring up, and I watched basically like 70% of Isaac Hajar's race, like the whole thing on board, because
Okay.
he was crashing out like heavily in a big way, and like I can see why I would as well in that situation.
Ooh.
Okay. Right. Let's play the start because this is the start of the actual thing. So this actually was.
Are we talking about quali or is
No.
Oh
No, we
slay.
never talk about quality.
Race highlights.
Yeah,
Not-
fair enough. There's
Lucy
never
doesn't
much
pay
to
attention
say.
to our own podcast.
I don't.
The key thing to note here is this is Oscar Piastri's first start of the season.
First race in 2026.
Yeah, first Grand Prix. He started the sprint, but he's not started an actual Grand Prix.
True.
And then proceeded to lead into turn one, which I don't think anybody was expecting with the way that the Ferraris.
With the Mercedes turbocharger.
Yeah, I was going to say, with the way that Ferraris have been starting, everybody, I think, expected at least one of them to lead into turn one.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case. So I've just paused it here, 10 seconds in. We have Piastri, I think that's Leclerc, Russell, yes. Norris, Hamilton, and then Antonelli did his usual start of just spin up the rear wheels.
Bless him.
I
felt bad for him.
I don't know why he's struggling so much on the starts. It's just every start I've seen, he's had a bad start, and he's done quite a lot of, at least in 2 of the 4 starts he's had, he's made so much wheel spin, he's just made tire smoke.
Yeah, I think I can think of literally I think one start he's done so far this year, which is like good. Other than that, he's been like spinning up I guess it's technically better than doing the Red Bull Powertrains Ford thing where you just like basically stall.
Yeah,
it is probably better than that, but it's still like you don't really want that at the start. You know, you want to go forward.
Yeah, he actually left the line and went forwards.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, I'll say as well, we've got Mac in the chat saying Antonelli is doing his best Norris impression.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking actually. It's like shades of Norris.
So
like
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, we said this.
I
said we said this last year that I think Norris would have had a more commanding lead of the championship if he had better starts.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because also like just getting that good start puts you in that like mind frame that like I'm the guy, like I'll do anything better than the person sitting across from me in the debrief room, right? But like if you're getting out qualified and then also you like end up 4th at the start after qualifying 2nd, like it just like puts you on the back foot mentally the whole way through.
Yeah.
But I think like honestly this is just speculation on my part. I don't know this for sure, but like one thing that I mean, again, I'm way lower level, like I'm nowhere near, but like Antonelli, I have noticed especially like last year and this year, was making a lot of mistakes that I was making like a year ago, which is, I mean, obviously like 23 now, he's 18, but it does make sense because he's so young. So like
Yeah.
I started racing way later than he did. He's way more experienced in racing than I am, right? But it is interesting. Like for example, like when he bended in Monza, the first push lap he did in the first FP1 debut session, like that was the same thing I did, Lucy. I don't know if you remember that pro kart session of testing that I did at PFI.
Yeah,
I bended in the wall the first push lap I did, hit my head on
Yeah,
the barrier.
I remember
Like
that.
that,
Like
I got
let's
very lucky to not, but like the whole idea of the mentality. But my point behind that is, I think one thing I struggled with a lot when I was like, I don't know, maybe like my first like maybe year of doing race like competitive. This is still only sim racing. But like standing start, especially, I got really nervous. Like I was even during like if league races have like formation laps and stuff, like my legs were shaking while I was trying to warm the tires.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I have anxiety, which I didn't even have like medication for at the time. So like, yeah, it's probably worse for me. But like, I can definitely see how like getting nervous, especially with like one singular clutch
yeah,
pedal.
we're
If you drop
hand
it to
clutches
here,
as well.
it's a
Let's
perfect
remember.
start. If you drop it to there, you stall.
Yeah.
Like it's like the radio of Lewis Hamilton, he was getting feedback on the formation app saying clutch drop was 1% shallow. 1%. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, we're talking fine margins, but let's obviously just acknowledge the fact that getting any car off the line at speed is difficult. Never mind
sure,
a 1,000 horsepower Formula One car with, or on a hand clutch as well. This is the other thing. So most people
On a
have
hand
never
clutch,
even
which is
done a hand
purely a
clutch.
single pedal hand clutch.
Yeah.
Single pedal hand clutch, purely electronic with no like physical bite print.
Yeah, because I've done competitive stuff in real life cars in like low. When I say low power, I'm talking like 200 horsepower cars and stuff like that. And obviously, you've driven one of my cars, and just trying to launch
Compared
that
to F1, it's low
well.
power, but it's not that low power.
Well, it's what is it 20% of what they've got. So,
Yeah.
but getting that off the line well is difficult. Never mind something with 5 times as much power. So, no, obviously, no shade on Antonelli. It's a difficult thing to do, but
Yeah, very, very
at
hard.
this level, you're leading the championship, or you are now. You've got to make better starts than that, especially with Ferrari starting in the way that they are. It's like,
But I think, you know, like he probably knows that bet like
oh
as
yeah,
well as
yeah, absolutely.
like he knows he's definitely upset at himself for that. I
Yeah.
think probably it can hurt a little bit less when you take the win at the end, but he
Yeah,
definitely does.
it played out for
I
him in
know
the
for a
end.
that he's been like thinking about that this whole like these last few days. Like, damn, why can I not start this damn car, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be sat in the
Because
sim. Like
him, right?
we've
He
got.
was talking about, oh, I'll go back to the sim and practice the clutch stops.
Yeah, he's got
Just
a
for-
month off now, so you can
Yeah.
you can go and practice. So let's roll this on, because this top 6 was kind of how the entire race went, pretty much. They kind of settled into that formation that I read out. I think at this point it was McLaren 1-3, which was quite interesting. So
Yep.
after obviously all of McLaren's issues, I think Norris is on his 3rd of 3 ECUs as well. Or it's a
Yeah, I think he's on the last one of like most of his.
I think the technical is PUC or something like that, but it's basically the control module for the power unit, the
I think
actual
it's
internal
it's-
combustion engine.
At least last year and before, it was called CE, as in control electronics.
Yeah, something like that. It's the electronic
something like
module that controls things, and he's on his 3rd of 3. Now I don't know whether the other 2 can't be salvaged, but all I know is that an FIA document that got released, he's on his 3rd one of 3. I think this is a sign of the fact that we're going to get engine penalties or engine component penalties by the end of the year. I don't think that was in any doubt. We get them most years.
Yeah.
But a brand new year with brand new
Yeah, I think also like,
components and
but like I think we were taking for granted how reliable the cars had gotten.
yeah. Well, we
Like
always
we
do.
were getting like several races per year with 0 retirements of
Yeah.
due to mechanical failures,
always
which
do.
is like kind of unprecedented for prototype cars.
I looked.
So it's kind of back to normal in that sense
Yeah,
now.
I went back to the first race of 2014 after we'd had Australia and people were talking about mountain retirements. Mechanical failures, we had 1 more than we did in Australia in 2014. And one of the retirements in 2014, mechanical failure, was Lewis Hamilton.
Right.
So, you know, whoever wins the first
This is
race
with
isn't the one.
Mercedes'
that's gonna
new
win.
regulation miraculous engine.
Yeah.
Much like
Yeah.
paralleling today.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it doesn't say everything about how the season goes. Few engine mechanical failures. We saw that with both Norris and Oscar last year, a few DNFs, and it throws everything out. And then Verstappen comes from nowhere to chase you. So, yeah. Enough side tracking. Let's go back to the race. I'm just gonna talk over the top of the first half of the race, because essentially what happened was the top 6 cars kind of just shuffled themselves around quite a lot, and there was a lot of overtaking.
Basically, yeah. Until the safety car, it was like just overtaking each other, but in
Yeah.
that same group. Basically.
Yeah, and I think it's the same as we've had in the previous 2 races. Only this time there was 6 cars involved. China, Norris didn't really have any pace, so he kind of just sat in 5th on his own because the rest of the midfield didn't catch up with him. But this time, McLaren seems to have got it together. And now there's McLaren, Mercedes, and Ferrari all mixing it together, which has been quite entertaining to watch until you start listening to what the drivers are saying about the cars. But we'll get down that route when we cover that when we get there. I'm just playing it through. We're on lap 8, minute 44 in, and Russell's already now at the front of the. Russell was the new race leader. The graphics came up and said Russell new race leader, and then by turn 1, Piastri's got past him again. So I think we've said this in the last 2 episodes. There's going to be a lot of this year with energy management and all of that sort of stuff. It's where you deploy essentially to get the extra boost, and it throws back to when we had KERS, that sort of thing. You could choose where to deploy that little bit of extra to try and make the pass, and you've got to use it to defend in the right place and attack in the right place so that people can't pass you and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's going to be.
I think the main difference I would say with KERS is that, like, I think I don't know the exact figures of like how many megajoules it is, but from what I understand, it's like you were pretty easily able to harvest more than you are allowed to deploy per lap. So there wasn't really ever a situation of like, okay, I have to hang back right now so that maybe in turn 1, like in a lap from now, I can try it.
Yeah.
So that's like the key difference in terms of how it like is strategically behind the wheel. But like ultimately, it is like a temporary boost, which you need to use in the right time. Otherwise, you won't have it when you need it.
Yeah, I wonder how these cars would fare if we were just ice only. Because the cars...
With last year's ice or this year's
either,
ice?
because last year's we didn't see any of this sort of... The drivers have called it yo-yoing. But the smaller chassis, the aero in the way it is, getting rid of the ground effects and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking that earlier today.
I'm just
thinking that earlier today.
Because I think the actual chassis is better. Like, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
we're not going to struggle with ground effects and following each other. And I think if we get a wet race, I think it's more likely to run in the wet. Because the biggest problem with the ground effects cars was they just lifted the water off the floor as they drove over it and threw it up in the air, so nobody could see anything. It wasn't that it was too wet. It was nobody could see. So I think that's going to go.
I mean, it was also a matter, like, it was about 50-50, at least in, like, the first half of the regulation set. Like, a lot of it was also the, like, cloud conditions being such that the medical helicopter couldn't take off. So,
yeah,
like,
and that's some of it. But a good chunk of it was clear enough, and the spray was atrocious.
Like, completely insane.
Yeah. So, Ramsam Timer points out that Gasly was hanging on well as well. So if I pause this at a minute 58, we're on lap 11. Gasly is currently P7. And I don't know where Alpine have found some speed. I think the Mercedes engine definitely helps.
Mercedes engine helps, yeah.
They've got rid of that Renault power unit, so that's obviously gone. But Gasly's got some pace, so there's obviously some pace within the car itself. Because you can... If I put a Mercedes power unit in my MX-5... I am not going to go as fast as everybody else. You've got to have a good chassis to go with the power unit. So it shows that
you need
something...
to like put the power down properly and like go around the corner when you get there.
And you've got to have all the aerodynamics and all the rest of it. So they've obviously got some sentiment of a good package in there. But let's see. I don't remember what lap the safety car was on. It was quite near the start, I'm fairly sure. Again, I'm just rolling it through all the all the backwards and forwarding that they were doing between the top 6. It wasn't. This is the thing. Last year we could talk about all of the individual overtakes. They're all DRS overtakes, but you could talk about the individual overtakes. Whereas now there's so many of them, like you just can't keep. We'll be here all night if we talk about every single individual overtake, because you'll get one on the start of the straight, and then at the end of the straight, and then then there's 2 more behind you doing the same thing. So we got to lap 19. Yeah, so this is where the pit stop started at lap 19. So Piastri came in, and I think at this point McLaren still thought they could win it.
Okay.
I think Russell was leading, Piastri was second, and I think Antonelli was up to third at this point. And I think Piastri genuinely thought they could win it.
Yeah.
Ram Tam has just said there were only about 3 overtakes at Suzuka last year. Am I
Yes.
correct in remembering that last year was the one where they finished in the same order they started?
I
Or was
think
that
so.
a few years ago?
Don't
Okay.
recall the start, but I
I-
remember it being really very.
I don't remember that much of last year's race, other than it being probably the worst race of the year. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy.
normally you bring up like Suzuka. I love Suzuka. I've driven it on
Yeah.
games forever, same as you, Neil. It's like one of my favorite circuits to drive, and you pull it up, and I'm always excited for Formula One race because it's an old school circuit. It's a little bit narrow. It's quite challenging. Some of the corners are really interesting. You've got 130R, and then you load up. You watch last year's race. And it's like there's nothing happening.
Mm.
We didn't even
Yeah.
get any rain because
I
they
mean, that's
moved it
also
out of the rainy
tricky thing
season.
of, like, it's almost like power creep in like video games and stuff like that, or like general game balancing, where it's like all of them have gotten so close to their own limit of what that car concept can do that there's like they're not really going to mess up. They know everything about it. Like the kind of
Yeah.
mistakes you make are going to be like, okay, I'll lose a 10th on one lap, whatever, I'll go a 10th faster next lap. Like
Yeah,
it's not going to be like, oh yeah, I've thrown the entire battery away because I coded the program wrong.
Yeah,
like,
well,
that
the-
kind
the-
of thing doesn't really happen.
The problem with last year's cars is they couldn't follow. This is not a great track for overtaking, although tell that to Kobayashi when he was driving and he overtook everybody at the hairpin. Literally everybody got overtaken at the hairpin by him up the inside. That was his favourite place. But last year the cars were too big. They couldn't follow, so they couldn't overtake on a narrow circuit. It's like, no. But yeah, they're better this year. The cars have been better. I think Ramton Tam has just brought up Pirelli, and I think they're talking about bringing softer tyres, I think, because we've sort of settled into a one-stop every race. So I think they're going to step down some of the tyres towards the end of the year. Kerr's had a max output of 60 kilowatts. Yeah, it was 100, about 80 horsepower. That was what I remember.
I have a question about that. Did they have a maximum? I mean, I know they had a maximum deployment limit of how many megajoules they were allowed to deploy over one lap, but did they have a limit on how much they were allowed to harvest or how much capacity the battery could have?
I think there will
If
have.
you are on the wiki page for that.
Yeah, there will have been regulations around all of that. So I just don't remember.
I remember, like,
because
in the
nobody really
beginning,
talked
before-
about it.
Yeah, exactly. Because like also not every team had it because
Yeah,
it was like
so
expensive
it
and
was-
some people didn't even think it was worth it.
So from what I remember at the time, it was optional, and essentially the talk of having it versus not having it was all down to the weight. Because obviously you have to then lug around some extra batteries that can deploy the 60 kilowatts and all that. 80 horsepower for up to 3 seconds. Banned in 2011 and then 6 seconds in 2012. Yeah, that seems about right. It kind of came and went. It wasn't.
That's interesting though. That's time based and not energy based. That I do find. So that means if you're like this year's Mercedes and you can use your battery way faster than the rest of the
Well, it was
power
a,
units. Oh my god, I've just had a power cut. Okay, if my electricity doesn't come back in the next like 5 minutes, I will probably be gone for like 3 or 4 minutes before
okay.
it comes
We'll,
back. But
we'll manage
just
that.
forwarding you.
But yeah, the thing is, regardless of how well you can deploy the power, it's still only 80 horsepower. You
Yeah,
can't
that's true.
deploy more than that. So even if you could deploy it all faster with a bigger motor, it didn't make any difference because you were power limited.
That's true. That's true.
So that was So that's we're going to do a lot of sidetracking today. I feel like.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah. So we're up to lap 22. 2, which is where Russell came in, which means I know exactly what lap that Behrman had his rather large
Another
crash.
thing that's gonna happen on that lap.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, there it is. Just as literally, Russell's in turn 3 and the yellow flags come out. We're going to talk about it, Lucy, because he was absolutely fine. And he's got a month to recover before the next race.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I was stressed out watching that. Stressed out.
Yeah, I think it was one of those for me, because obviously the first shot, what timestamp are we at? 3 minutes and 17 seconds. This is the first shot we got of anybody being off the track. So the yellow flags come out, obviously the commentators mention it, and then they cut to this. He's still inside the car. We all know modern F1 technology is good, and we think he's going to be absolutely fine.
And also in that same timestamp, you can see his head like moving around in
Yeah,
the car,
and
like looking to the steering wheel to take it off and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So
and
we
then-
didn't have a doubt that he was like out cold or something like that. But
Yeah,
also, I think because it was so zoomed in, we didn't at least I didn't immediately identify what part of the track it was.
yeah,
like,
trying to work out where he
I don't
was.
see that many crashes like facing that way backwards into Spoon.
Well, that's the thing. The first
I didn't
thought
even
is you can see cars going through in the foreground. So it's like, well,
Yeah.
he's clearly spun at least 180 degrees. So it's like,
'Cause
how
he's
did he
backwards.
get there? What's he done? So I'm just rolling the clip on in the background. Everybody is pitting.
Oh.
I'll get to the
I do have
timestamp
quite a
of the
bit. I
replay.
know I said I don't want to talk about it, but like I do. This is probably to me one of the bigger parts of what happened in the race, because I think there's been, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's been a lot of online discussion about this and the way that the
Seen a
regs
bit.
have potentially affected
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah.
And also I want to talk a little bit about something else on top of that, but we'll get to it. So
Let's go through the actual crash itself.
Yes.
It's at 3 minutes and 57 in the actual video. And so my initial thought watching this back was Colapinto's just drifted out to the left made a late move, and Ben was obviously swerved to avoid him, gone on the grass, and that's what sent him sideways. So I think it was on Reddit I saw this. Yeah, Muskin Hats just points out it's a good job that Bem didn't hit Colapinto, otherwise this would have been worse for everybody.
Yeah.
Because he'd have just launched himself over
Actually,
the top.
who knows? Because then the crash would have happened on the tarmac, so that the holding the brakes while sideways would have actually done something compared to early, which was on the
But
grass in the air doing nothing.
My concern is we've seen enough Formula One cars touch each other,
But
and
yeah, for
quite
sure.
frequently they end up upside down in the air. And the last time I recall, and I don't know whether this is the last time this happened, somebody hit the back of another car at high speed like this. Was Mark Webber in Barcelona. He hit the back of a Lotus and did a backflip.
Oh, Valencia, I think.
Valencia, yeah. So because this is the problem you've got at these closing speeds. You get a tire hit a tire, and then that's
Yeah.
it launches you up.
Yeah, I mean, with the open wheel, like it literally is
Yeah.
like it makes the ramp
And that
almost it's like
actually,
in Sonic when you have the like speed up zones where it's like two things spinning really quickly and you
Yeah.
go in the middle. It's
And
literally like that, but
that
no one wants it to
a
happen.
car going over like that did actually happen in one of the Porsche Sport Cup races, the Carrera Cup.
Yeah,
It was
and
a
that's
crazy-
extra impressive
this
because
week-
those are closed wheel.
Yeah, that was before the Formula One race as well, I think.
This
Yeah.
whole weekend has been crazy for motorsport crashes.
Yeah.
Did we see the barrier one in? Was it IndyCar?
Oh yeah.
I've not seen
was
The
it
fella
Verstappen?
that-
I'll have to look.
I don't know. Anyway,
Anyway,
a fella
let's-
went like
he
through a
basically
barrier.
spun. He had a high speed spin on the entry, but and the barrier did slow him down and stop him, but he did end up on the other side of the barrier outside the circuit. So there's a lot of discussion. I don't actually know the truth because I don't know American safety standards. I'm sure they're good, but like I don't know how they classify stuff. But like to me, you shouldn't be on the other side. Like that's not something you should do. But then the argument is that like it dissipated the energy properly.
Yeah.
So like okay, yes it did, but like I don't know.
I'll have
Kind
to
of-
have a look
I
at that one.
don't like the idea.
Yeah, send me that when we're done. I'll have a look at it. But
Yeah,
where is
crazy
it? I
weekend for
think
crashes. In conclusion,
Ramton Timer. There we go. Bem's lucky he didn't dig into the gravel, so he obviously went through some gravel.
Yeah.
And this happens quite frequently. Is if you hit a patch of gravel and get chucked up in the air and then come back down at an angle, it digs in and that flips you over. And I think that's what happened to Kvyat.
did that happen to
kind of,
Zhou
yeah.
as well?
Joe was
Joe
on
Grant-
pure
no.
tarmac. Like, Or because of the like tire ramp.
Yeah,
effect,
he
right?
was sort of thrown sideways. And
You're talking about
yeah,
Silverstone.
he was up in the air
Right.
before he got anywhere near the gravel.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
For anybody
But I mean,
wondering,
it definitely
that's
like the gravel definitely like helped
it
him
can.
continue rolling up
It
to the
can,
best
yeah.
one.
And I've seen it at Donington where they come down the Craner curves. Specifically, Clio Cup race I was watching one year, and because they're quite heavy cars, they do dig into the gravel, whereas Formula One cars can quite often just skip over the top. If anybody's wondering, the Zhou Guanyu crash was Silverstone. Was that 20?
22.
24, I want to. Two.
Was it 24? I was 22, I think.
I thought it was 22.
Because it was still in the Alfa Romeo. It wasn't in the
Yeah.
Kick Sauber.
If you put Zhou Guanyu crash Silverstone into YouTube, you'll find it.
No
Damn, I could
way.
see
Has it
completely-
been that long?
I think it has. But I
Oh,
could-
Ramton Thomas says
my
2024.
God. Yeah, it must have been because I was
one
there.
of many may being completed wrong. Wait, sorry.
Well, no, I wasn't.
You haven't said Power hit the barriers in quali. Isn't this like the 4th round in a row out of 4 rounds in IndyCar where he's hit the wall in quali? How is he? He's not. No 2022 JSO protest. Hang on. I don't know what that. I don't know what that JSO
The Just
protest
Stop
is,
Oil protest. That was when the fools ran onto the track.
Oh, Just Stop Oil protest.
But then there
Yeah,
was already a red flag, so.
But I mean, we didn't get to see any of it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they very masterfully chose to show like literally anything else.
Good. So let's
But
stop
anyway,
talking about it.
Power hitting the barriers
Anyway,
is crazy.
yeah.
Anyway, let's get back to this
It's
actual
actually
crash,
really
because
qualified.
if you roll on
Yeah.
the video, obviously it shows Behrman's actual crash. If you go to 4 minutes and 8 seconds, they show the Colapinto on board. And this is where I was initially like, Colapinto's just made a late move. Because you watch him steering and he doesn't really steer to the right that much. He just sort of drifts out to the left, which makes me think it was an attempt at blocking Behrman, but because it's kind of a blind corner. And I squarely put it on Colapinto. But somebody on Reddit looked up, I think it was using F1's official onboards and all that stuff. The closing speed was 92 kilometers an hour.
So it was. I did also verify this myself because we do get F1 TV here. The onboard telemetry for all of the cars, like all 22 of the cars this weekend, it was like very spotty. Like it wasn't really like it was cutting out like every 2 seconds and it would be gone for like 10 seconds at a time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also the even for the drivers apparently in the last chicane, like they couldn't hear the radio at all. Like the engineers would have to ask them to repeat again and again.
Yeah.
But like for example, I think this like. It's not actually 90. I think it's closer to like 50, 55, which is still huge.
Which I
Like, it's
had
still
heard
massive.
before somebody made that post. But
yeah, 90 is
still.
like 90 is another thing.
you've got to
But yeah.
remember some pit lanes, the limiter is
Yeah.
50 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
And they're already doing over 100 at that point.
Like the Indian, at least in Delhi, the highway national speed limit. Oh my god, the national speed limit is 80. Like
Yeah.
we aren't allowed to go quicker than that.
Yeah, so for UK viewers, just for some perspective, a 0 to 60, when we talk about like car like 0 to 60 times, it's actually 0 to 62 because that's the equivalent of 100 kilometers an hour.
100
So
kph.
50 kilometers an hour is about 30 miles an hour, which is what we do in our sort of towns and cities. So it's not slow, but it's not fast. But that's also if it was 50 kilometers an hour, it could have been more. It probably was.
It could have been more. It could have been a bit less. But it like.
But we're talking about 50 kilometers an hour on top of already doing like motorway
Yes.
highway speeds.
And also in a section where none of these drivers will ever
Around.
have even thought that such a closing speed could be possible.
Yeah.
Like Colapinto honestly not turning in hard enough just because to prevent the idea of Behrman making a move there is not that insane of a thing to do.
Yeah.
It looks crazy because Behrman was flying at him like at a rate of like a missile, but like
yeah,
there is no reason that a racing driver would think that's even possible. Like
it almost
it's
looks
such
like
a counterintuitive thing.
from the onboard, it almost looked like Colapinto's got an issue and he's lifting and going slowly or something like that. And obviously Behrman's then taking avoiding action. But it seems that both cars are just racing at full speed. And that's where the whole sort of danger element comes into this. And we can cover this at the end because we've still got the other half of the race to go yet. The onboard here is crazy because you see Colapinto come around the corner and then Behrman just flying across in front of him.
Yeah.
It's insane. And then the bit that Lucy probably didn't like was Behrman behind the barriers limping And we're all like, okay, that's a big hit. And I think it was 50 Gs. It was a 50
Yeah, that
G
was the
hit,
quote.
Yeah.
which for those wondering, it's equivalent of what Verstappen had at Silverstone in 21.
No, Verstappen had 72, which
Was it
was
7?
like,
I thought it was 50.
yeah,
I thought
that's what's.
51.
I thought it was
I think
50.
is it 50? I thought
I
it was
thought it was
72 because
50.
like, I remember it was like a ridiculous number because the gravel he skipped over the top like a stone on a lake
Yeah,
instead of
and he
like
just
actually
slammed in
slowing down at all.
sideways. But I
He was
thought it was
literally
50.
300 kilometers an hour fully into the
Sorry.
wall with no deceleration at all.
Chat will look it up. We're not
Doesn't
allowed
matter.
to be
It's
wrong.
like
Chat
too
will do the
much for a
research.
human being to do. It's too much for a human
Um,
being to be doing, really.
Guys,
How
let
much?
me tell you, I was getting maternal. I
51.
saw Ollie Behrman coming out
I've
the car.
fallen off.
Oh, it's
What?
okay, Neil. I saw Behrman getting out the car in Olympic,
so-
and I was like, "Get me to him right now. I need to take him off the track myself. I needed to."
51G. There you go.
I was
Told you.
like, you know.
So Ramtime Time was asking how much time passed between Colapinto coming to Ollie's view and Ollie taking avoiding action. So I've just rolled it back. We're at 3 minutes 56, and as soon as you press play, Colapinto is already you can see Colapinto ahead. So it's not like Behrman didn't know he was there, which is I think why I initially said obviously Colapinto's moved late. That's why Ollie's then had to take that jerking, avoiding action. But I suspect... can I roll this on at a low speed? Does YouTube still let me do that, or have they put that behind a paywall?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Actually, I don't know. I have the
yeah,
family plan,
0.25.
so
There we
I
go.
have the. You can
so-
also do period and comma to do frame by frame.
Yeah, I didn't want to go frame by frame. Yeah, he closes in quite... Yeah, so this is where my whole issue with this is. If you roll that back to about 3 minutes 58 and watch, you see Behrman closing in, and he's actually closing quite quickly, and obviously we've discussed the speed. He then starts to move to the left because he's closing with so much speed. We're still 250 meters out from the corner here, so he's not even thinking about braking. And Colapinto just keeps moving left, which I think is where the issue for me is, that Colapinto should have at least seen somewhat of the closing speed. I don't think this is either of their fault. Obviously, Behrman's closed in really quickly and he's going to try and go around him because the other car's going slowly, but I don't think Colapinto should have moved over. And and we've said this before, I think this is just a racing incident. This is why no other action was taken. But what I was actually going back to check here, watching it slow motion, is this is 3 seconds until Behrman's just alongside, which is why this is obviously, he's just immediately gone off onto the grass. But there's no charging lights from the Alpine. That was what I was looking for here.
Yeah.
Which says to me that because when they talk about closing speed and everything, you're like, oh, he was charging or regenerating or whatever. But he's not. That Alpine does not have any red lights on him on the back of it at any point while Behrman's behind him. Which says that
and as far as we know, he didn't
raw
lift
speed. Yeah. And we don't get to see the telemetry, and I'm sure it will come out at a later date if somebody asks. But from what I can see, Colapinto wasn't charging. He wasn't generating the electricity, which is obviously what the lights are for. So I think that closing speed was just closing speed.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
But it's also like, it's hard to say also because on like a different lap, it probably would not have been that big of a difference. Because like Alpine wouldn't be in like finishing in 7th place in the race if their car was genuinely that pace through Spoon. You know?
Yeah.
Or through 200 hours as the case may be.
It's hard because I think it could well be that he wasn't generating anything, but if he not had enough battery to make like because I think the hairpin's the previous corner, I think. If he's not had the battery power to sort of get a good launch off that corner and not then build the speed, he's not got the speed at the end of that straight, and then again you're back in the close.
Yeah, I guess also because 200 hour is, although for F1 cars is basically a straight, it's not a straight, it's the corner.
Yeah.
So they probably wouldn't have had straight line mode. And not probably, I know they didn't have straight line mode for that. So they would have had full drag, like Monaco levels of drag.
So
if they have any like deployment issue at all, it's
I think there's something else going on there than just. I don't think it's battery charging. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's any of this super clipping and everything that everyone's been talking about. I don't think it's anything to do with that.
I mean, at least there's definitely more to it than just that. If that is involved,
Yeah, exactly.
I would agree with that.
But on the upside, Ollie was fine. I think it was I think it was a knee.
we're talking about this.
I think it was a slight knee injury. Somebody posted, I think it was yesterday on the Reddit, that they'd seen Ollie at a Shinkansen and he was still limping. It was like, well, yeah, he's had a 50G crash.
Yeah.
What do you expect? But
I have the footage. I've got it ready to pull up.
Yeah, but
Whoa.
Are we ready, chat?
But he's got 30 days to recover before the next race in Miami. So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
pretty much. Like,
I haven't
expected
actually
amount.
seen that. I didn't know he banged his head on the train.
That's awesome. It definitely
What
helps
a guy!
the concussion
What a
list so
guy!
much.
But you've got to remember, as safe as these cars are, that is a massive crash.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, you know, it's like a massive one when like the onboard telemetry automatically cuts out because I mean it has an inherent delay of like 2 to 3 seconds and it detects the G-force
Yeah.
being that high that it just shuts off the feed.
Yeah.
So we
You-
didn't even
you-
get to hear on the
you-
radio if he's okay or not.
You know it's high enough when the medical car's called out to the scene.
Yeah.
So, and
Oh,
that
man.
was
Okay.
pretty obvious off the bat. So let's move on.
This is what. No. Wait. I have one more thing. My secret second thing. Do we think there's a chance that he's got a concussion?
I mean it's not zero,
Because
but
do
like
we
I don't know.
remember like
I
last
don't think it's certain.
year or 2 years ago, there was like one driver who like had a concussion and just did not admit it or something, or like there was that
It was
whole thing of
Colapinto.
drivers like who?
Oh no, it was last year. It was Colapinto.
Yeah,
When
that's
he
the whole
crashed
thing.
and
Acting like they're
got
not.
concussion.
That's the thing. I'm concerned. I'm worried that
Yeah,
like
it is a problem.
if
It-
you whack
like-
yourself that
like
hard, he's
Ramsey
gonna be like,
Thomas
I'm
said,
good.
The thing is, the
They would have
helmet.
done the test to see immediately.
Yeah, the helmets they've got are very, very good now. Obviously, they're not,
Yeah, really good. In fact,
invincible. And he will now have to replace that helmet. So this is a thing that most people probably don't know about helmets. You bump it, you replace it. If you've got a
you
motorbike
can afford
helmet,
it.
if you've got a motorbike helmet at home, you carry it around, you drop it, that's it, it's done. You have to replace it. So that helmet will be replaced. But obviously the padding and everything inside it will do its job. And if he's got a concussion, I'll be surprised if it's anything more than just a mild one. He probably got more of a concussion banging his head on that train.
What you're saying, the headrests are so tight that the head can't bounce around sideways. That is
Yeah.
kind of true, but your brain can still move inside your own head.
Yes.
That is what the major concern
That's
is, and that's
what I
what
was
the
thinking.
the helmet padding compressing is what is
'Cause-
reducing that acceleration
Yeah,
force on your
yeah. So the obviously the helmet padding reduces the acceleration. The padding of the headrest does it. But then as you compress all of that, there's room to go back the other way. So you do make room,
Yes.
but at that point you're already going slower, which is what helps things. So
Also, hi Croc. Hello. The goat has
and
arrived.
also like the thing you were saying earlier about like you drop the helmet, you can't do it again. It's that exact compression. Once it's done
That's
that compression
it.
once, it can't do it again. Like it's
Yeah.
already squished. So like basically, if you hit it at that angle again, it's going to be like not wearing anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
that's why it's not safe to do that realistically.
Yeah.
So new helmets, kids.
Now, what I saw on TikTok, and obviously I saw it on TikTok, is not science or anything, but there's this really good content creator that I follow and I've kind of seen around and stuff called Yana. I think that's how you say it. I don't know how you pronounce her name. I'm so sorry, but or Yana. I don't know. She's amazing, and basically she has a medical degree, and she was talking about
Pins
this.
on Rails.
Yeah, and she was talking about it and basically saying that like she's concerned because, you know, drivers will downplay any injuries they have or whatever. Yeah. How likely do we think that is? Because I think they will obviously test for drivers, and like, you know, if all the tests are
Yeah,
coming
they-
back clear, then they will be cleared. And if they're not, they will not be allowed to race. But do we have a concern that maybe Behrman would downplay any symptoms he's having
So
or anything like that?
there's two things going on here. The FIA
And a
will
good
not
follow-up from Croc as well.
the FIA will
in the
not
chat.
let a driver drive if they are unfit. That's just fact. That's not the teams aren't the ones that administer the medical checks.
I'll be
So
right back.
on the back
It's
of
getting
Crocky's question there, the FIA have their own set of criteria, and that will define what is enough of an injury to stop somebody racing. And they will not let a driver race if they're unfit.
Which is why if it's like you need to fake it real well if you like hope to
Yeah.
get away with it realistically.
Yeah, because
Like,
let's remember, drivers have driven with broken hands, and like Stroll was driving with a broken hand a couple of years ago.
Piastri with broken
Alonso
ribs
said
last year.
in his qualifying crash in Melbourne when he was still in Alpine, he broke his fingers because the power steering failed as he crashed. And he still did the race the next day. Like that.
They're
kind of thing.
literally all so much braver than me. If I broke anything, I would be crying for a whole week. You would not see me outdoors. Like,
Yeah, so they're talking about like Piquet got his final title when getting double vision. A lot has changed since the likes of Nelson Piquet was racing. The drivers used to just hop into their spare car and just carry on. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
The FIA will not. I don't know what the regs say. People will have read it and all the rest of it, and I've not sat and read their massive document. But essentially, what it'll boil down to is if the driver poses any risk to themselves, other drivers, marshals, circuit officials, whatever, they will not be allowed to drive. The other side of things, is exactly what Crocky's just pointed out. Is I think it happens more than we know about it because of the media. They want to keep it quiet. They don't want to have the media go, "Oh, who are they? Like they're unfit to race. Who do they put in now?" And all this other speculation and everything. And then you get to the next race and like, "No, I'm fine." Because let's at the end of the day, let's remember, Behrman has I think it's 32 days when I looked earlier to recover from Miami. He's got 4 weeks essentially.
Yeah. He can easily say he's fine now just to stop the media circus. And like if he's not fine, we can cross that bridge when he comes to it.
You can heal broken bones in 4 weeks.
We saw Lance
And I mean,
Stroll.
he'd have access to the top tier healthcare of like
exactly.
Like the kind of stuff that Marc Marquez has gotten away with after getting horrifically injured, like coming back the same season, like it's quite unbelievable.
Marc Marquez is crazy.
His arm has been disintegrated into dust several times in 1 year. Like it's insane.
Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be an issue. It's not unexpected that he's still limping after a massive crash, but I don't think I don't think they're downplaying it as such. But obviously, I don't think it'll be an issue at the end of the day.
I think there is a certain extent to where to be this successful enough to chase such an unrealistic dream of F1 and actually make it there, you have to be a little bit delusional. Not even a little bit, like a lot delusional.
A lot.
Like the kind of way like you'll see a backmarker guy and say like, yeah, if you put me in the car, I'll win the championship. He probably won't, but that doesn't really matter, right? You have to believe that to be able to have the motivation to push that hard. So it's kind of the same level of like, yeah, no, I'm fine, because he has to say he's fine. He has to believe he's fine to an extent. He may not know, but the thing is, the medical staff who checked and shined the light in his eyes after he got out, they'll know whether he has a concussion or not. Like
exactly.
You can't fake it. You can't just die.
And the thing is, once you get in the car and start driving, you fill up full of adrenaline, and then you won't notice the pain anyway.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happens with anybody who's got a broken anything. So let's actually get back to the race, because we're still only halfway through the race, and we've been at this a while already. At this point, for the restart, it is now Antonelli, Piastri, Russell, Hamilton, Leclerc, Norris. Gasly is still holding on to 7th, somehow. And Verstappen's in his new home of P8. I think he's finished P8 in all 3 races so far. He seems to just sit in P8 for some reason. And this so for me in sort of Formula One, this is where things start to settle down after you do the first round of pit stops, and this is where it stops being a sprint race, as it were, and it starts settling down into the endurance race, as it were. Because everybody's done their stops, they're settling into their strategies, or they're doing their alternates, or whatever.
Gaps start to pan out a little bit, so it's like less realistic to get anything done without
it was
intervening circumstances. For
me, the strategy on this race was interesting because everybody bar Bottas, I think, started on the mediums. So there was absolutely no alternative strategies from anybody. And they all pitted and everyone went to hards. So there was absolutely no variation. And I think this is where the Pirelli conversation comes in, where they're going to go softer on the compounds just to give a bit of variation and give the 2-stop a chance of working. That's the problem. If everybody starts on the same strategy and the same tyre, It's all got to be done on pace.
And it's basically not a factor; it cancels out.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think, honestly, it cancels out.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think, honestly, Pirelli is in kind of a tough situation. Like, honestly, like in the sense, like pressure is a privilege or whatever, because they have the top seat in single seater motorsport to showcase their tires and all that. But it's a tough situation for them also, because like to make the two-stop strategy to work, you need to make the tires worse. You need to make the tires genuinely not work at all past a certain point, and that
Yeah.
looks real bad. It looks real bad because they will still push it for the one stop, because taking a pit stop is so like catastrophically bad in terms of like taking like the time loss of, you're essentially doing a stop go penalty. So like if you can somehow eke out like a tenth a lap like slower to like maybe get like 3-4 more laps and not have to do that extra
Yeah.
stint, you'll do it.
This is a problem a lot of
Half the
people
cars
have.
will get a puncture on that last lap. So
Yeah, a lot of
it looks
people
awful.
have this problem with Pirelli tires to start with, because they are designed to just go so far and then just disintegrate, which is, I think, if I remember correctly, this stemmed from way back when there was I think it was a wet race, and this is kind of how the tires behaved, and the FIA went, we want that. And
Yeah, it was Canada 2011, right? Because Button
So-
won with the first lap strategy.
something like that. But
I think so.
that race in 2011, Button went through the pits like 4 times. That was something completely different. But that's my favorite race ever. So if anybody wants to go and look that up, you should. Because
I've seen the
Yeah.
highlights, but I think the raw VOD is like 4.5 hours long.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
That was the race that introduced the 3-hour time limit.
yes, it was. Yeah, because that thing went on forever, and it was such a good race. But yeah, the tires are an issue. Let me just if you watch the highlights and go back to about 5 minutes and 8 seconds, in the exact corner that Behrman had his crash, there's a Ferrari I'm not sure which Ferrari it is, passes Russell in exactly the same spot in the same way that Behrman would have done at what looks like a similar closing speed. But
Yeah.
because Russell doesn't move to the left, the Ferrari stays on track and there's no crash.
Yeah, the commentators even said like it looks like this is not just starting. It looks like he has an issue. Like that's what they pointed out.
Yeah, and if I remember
Okay.
correctly, there was a radio call not long after that where he was struggling to charge, or he didn't have any battery charge, something like that. And it's an interesting one, because if you go back and watch the World Endurance Championship, when they started introducing the hypercar in this class and their batteries and all that sort of stuff, there was a lot of talk about state of charge. And I've said this before in our previous podcast. I genuinely think this will go away as the teams sort of work it out. I think this talk of state of charge and battery and deployment and all of that stuff will go away. But while it's
Yeah.
such an issue and it essentially dangerous with some of the closing speeds we've
Yeah.
got, it's a problem and people are going to talk about it. But I do think the engineers will sort it out. I think it's going to help that we've got 4 weeks for them to do a lot of work. Now they've got some real world running.
We've
So
got
I've
chat
just opened
talking
up
about.
the. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go.
Oh, I was just going to say, we've got chat talking about refueling. Does anyone want to weigh in on that?
Yeah. So the thing about
Um,
refueling was it in practice led to people just waiting for the pit stop.
Yep.
Like they didn't make moves on track. So there was just a single file race with Schumacher in front and then Coulthard behind and then Hakkinen like overtaking the
And
pit lane. Like
if
that
you
kind
go
of
and
person,
look
kind of how it went.
at, was it Massa in 2008, again in Canada, where he set off with a fuel hose still attached.
Oh, that was
and-
Singapore.
Singapore.
Yeah.
The Crashgate
Singapore,
race.
yeah.
The safety car caused by Crashgate, they left in a rush and the
No,
fuel
no.
hose was still attached.
Yeah.
Was it Singapore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, another car comes up
One of the
behind.
few things I know.
Fuel vapor everywhere, big fireball. I'm not against not having refueling purely because it's dangerous. The safest way to do refueling is how the World Endurance Championship does it. Car comes in, car comes in, stays on the floor, they do all the refueling is done, then they do the tyre change. And that results
That
in
also
minute
really
plus
adds
stops.
a lot more pit stop strategy. That adds a lot more pit stop strategy because if your tires take longer than the fuel, then it doesn't matter how much fuel you put in. You can
Yeah.
take a full tank, you can take nothing. There's no benefit to risking like maybe I'll double stint the tires and just
Um,
take fuel. Like splash and dash strategies
be-
don't exist if the
To
tires
be
are
to be
at the
fair,
same time.
on the tyre talk, maybe we start doing what World Endurance Championship do and let you put 1, 2, or 3 tyres on instead of having to do all 4. they do let you mix compounds, and you can take just lefts or just rights, or you see them occasionally just put one tire on. Maybe that's the way that we get a little bit more interesting on the tire strategy.
This is the question. This is the question that I have. I don't know if anyone, either of you or anyone in chat, like actually knows the actual answer, if there even is a real answer. Why is it that F1 has the rule of you have to use 2 tire compounds instead of doing what literally every other motorsport in the world does, where they just say 1 pit stop is mandatory? At least 1 pit stop with tire change is mandatory. That's just what all the other racing series do.
The 2 compound thing is to force strategy, because at the end of the day, if they only have to put on one, if it's 1 mandatory pit stop, and you don't have to run both compounds, they'll just put 2 sets of hards on.
Yeah,
okay, but like I feel like I mean, this kind of got maybe debunked at Monaco a year or 2 ago whenever they did that mandatory 2-stop thing. Oh no, Qatar actually was the worst example of that, where somehow McLaren managed to mess it up, but like realistically there was one answer and that was literally it. But like the problem where they were like trying to come up with new ways of encouraging a 2-stop, when it's like, bro, you make the rules, just say you have to stop twice.
Yeah.
What are we doing here, man? Like, I don't understand.
Is it Monaco this year where they're mandating a 2-stop?
I think it was last year.
I think it was definitely last year. I don't know if they're...
I don't
Apparently
recall,
time's
honestly,
a myth to me.
Yeah, that's to me as well, to be fair.
Yeah, but I genuinely...
I'm still not over Zhou being 2022.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No.
Like, it is, but like, what?
I genuinely think if they adopted keep everything as it is, make as many stops as you want, you have to run 2 compounds, but if they allowed them to mix tire sets, I think that might be more interesting as a first step. So you could put on a set of tires for qualifying, for example. You go and qualify on your set of mediums or whatever it is. You ruin the rears because it's a rear heavy circuit, but then you can just put a fresh set of rears from a different set on. Does that give that should
was last year? We're back. We're so back. We finally got one back on the bird, guys.
Yeah,
I've not been wrong about.
I said
first thing since Danny quit.
So I'm just on that subject. It wasn't well received, and it wasn't the issue with the 2025 cars. I said that at the time. I said the problem is the cars are too big, and you can't overtake. And the perfect examples of that is every time Formula E goes, the racing is fantastic, and they can overtake each other because the cars are smaller.
And also, they barely make any downforce, so there's not that much.
And yeah, that's the other side of it as well. So F1 has its problems. There are plenty of solutions, but the FIA probably aren't going to do them. So let's go back to the race, because we're not at the end of the race yet, believe it or not. And we get up to lap 42, where Hamilton and Leclerc are now basically racing wheel to wheel. I think the commentators on Sky asked sort of rhetorical question, asked if the Ferraris are allowed to race, and the answer is clearly yes. I think Crofty said this was like a fantastic move where, yeah, Leclerc went around the outside of Hamilton and in through turn 1 and 2, just clean around the outside. And
I think that's one of those moves which you'd only be confident on doing on a guy you know who is paid by the same person that pays you.
Yeah.
Like if it's someone who can maybe get away with the debrief with no consequences, you're not trying that one.
Yeah, but it's also Hamilton. Let's be honest about
true.
that. But then Russell.
No, but I think what I mean is that you trust them to not understeer into you.
Yeah, exactly. You don't. First rule.
Be like, oh yeah, I got a little bit of washout. Like
first rule of racing: don't hit your teammate.
Exactly right.
So obviously Hamilton's going to be in there avoiding that. We're back at the start of the race where there's so much racing going on. I can't sit here and talk about all of the overtakes, which I think would normally.
Isn't that great? What a blessing.
My opinion on this has kind of changed since this race, because we said in the previous 2 podcasts that this is fantastic because it's overtaking, it's racing, this is what we want to see. But when you listen to the driver interviews at the end of the race and they're like, yeah, I didn't want to overtake him there, but I had more power and he was charging. It's like, that's not what you want to see, because that stops them being strategic and doing actual racing. We're back to the artificial overtaking that we had with DRS.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to round this out because this is rolling
Also,
through and they're
Ramtam
overtaking
Tama,
each other.
they are better in terms of following through the S's than the last year's cars, but it was definitely exaggerated because all of them were doing a huge amount of recharge in Sector 1.
Yes.
So they were all lifting and under the limit of the tires.
Yeah. So just to round out the race, because we're going to get sidetracked and go on a side topic again.
For sure.
Antonelli, Piastri, Leclerc were the top three, which I thought was fantastic because it's 3 different manufacturers. And I decided to go back and look to see when the last time we had it, because like the last couple of years, it's been, you would have thought it was 2 McLarens and somebody, or 2 Red Bulls and somebody, or whatever it was the last couple of years. The last time we had a 3 manufacturer podium was Qatar last year, because we had Sainz.
Yeah,
on
no,
the podium.
because only one of the Red Bulls was up there usually.
Yeah, and we had Sainz on the podium with McLaren and Verstappen, I think it was.
Yeah. Because
So-
Verstappen had to have a huge result to stay in the title, and Piastri was ahead of Norris when they both had that awful strategy call.
Yeah, so I actually agree with Ramtam Tama. I think the actual regulations for the chassis, it's all of the aero, the size of the car, all of that sort of stuff is fantastic. But the power unit regulations, I think, is where the problem lies, because we've got, you've got essentially what seems like uncontrolled deployment. It seems like the drivers have no control over it.
I think this is going to segue into my next topic, unless you guys had one lined up already, which I really apologize for torpedoing.
No, we're done with the race now, so carry on.
No, this is still the race. But I watched pretty much the entirety of most of it, like 90% of Hadjar's onboard from this race, because also I wanted to see he was like pretty much stuck behind Lindblad like the entire time for the first half, and that compromised the entire race for him. So I wanted to see, he's crashing out saying he can't do this. What is he doing? And Lindblad even got a black and white flag. So I was like, okay, let me see. Let me actually see what the situation was. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But the situation was even worse because it came to it brought to light the fact that the drivers also don't understand how to use the deployment.
Yeah.
It's not that it's necessarily uncontrolled, but it's for example, he was getting instructions okay, out of turn 14, before you hit full throttle, do single click anti-deploy. Then after you reach full throttle, hold it down. Then after that, you'll be able to use boost on the next lap into turn 1.
Yeah.
This is insane. You're inputting GTA cheat codes on the car to try and get it to do what you want. And then even then, it didn't do it. He lost a full second because he didn't get any deploy. He was 280 down the straight on that.
Yeah, and I think
it was
I think at one point there was a radio call with Hamilton and his engineer, and he was trying to get more power, and it's just go 6% throttle, less throttle or something like that. And it's how does that work? We should be in a world where you're going flat out all the time, which is part and parcel of the problem that we have with the tires.
It should be possible because just take that extra amount of throttle not required to drive the wheels and put it into the battery. That's what they said they were gonna do. That's what the point is.
Yeah. And
so why is it that they're oh, you have to lift your foot? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's a problem with the tires as well, where you have to manage the tires, and some of that is endurance racing, so that's kind of got a semi-pass, because you watch endurance race, although the World Endurance Championship has got so competitive, they have to drive flat out all the time or they're not going to win, which is fantastic. Flat out endurance racing for 8 hours. Yeah, you should go and watch it if you haven't.
Honestly.
I think what the FIA need to do is sort out super clipping. This is an issue for me, and I think this was best described when we were at Albert Park, where you're coming into turn 9, I think it was, and previous years there was a touch of brakes and then you turn in. That was it, flat out to the end, touch of brakes, and you dart in. You had to get that spot on, or you lose all of your time down the next straight. Now the engineers have worked out that it's faster to get to the end of that, towards the end of that straight, and instead of braking, you essentially recharge the battery, which slows you down to the point where you're about to turn in. Then you don't need the brakes at all, which means the driver's not doing anything.
it's conceptually the same concept as Lyco, but like it looks so much worse because it's not like Lyco. At least like you're still a human being driver, and you
Yeah,
try
you
to
still
make
have
it
to-
feel as normal as possible.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like it's taking the objectively best way of doing it, which is ramping down the power like by
Yeah.
the time you reach like 400 meters before the apex.
Yeah.
And that sounds really bad as well. Like it sounds like it's unwell.
I think we're getting
I'm
too
just
technical
proud of
here.
myself.
I think Lucy's tuning out a little bit.
Honestly, yes, but
Oh,
also I'm
also,
proud of
before
myself
we-
because I just figured out what Lyco means.
Yeah, lift and
you
coast
didn't
for
know?
those that
That's
don't know.
I didn't know. I
That's
didn't
awesome.
know.
We make educational content here.
Learning
think-
with Lucy.
I think some of the problem with the super clipping thing is it's in the regulations that when you get to a certain speed, you slow down. And I think
Yeah, it's
if-
290. At 290 kph, you start reducing the power, and
yeah,
then at
it's
340,
slow and then
you
it
have
falls
to
off
be
a
0.
cliff.
340, you have to be 0. You're not
Yeah.
allowed.
Yeah, and I think that's part and parcel of the problem. Is if they took that away, all you've got to do is find out whatever the top speed of the cars was last year, and just say that's now your top speed. But what they've done is artificially introduce a maximum speed that the cars can ever do. There's now an artificial top
Yeah.
speed of the cars, so it's
And
not like the
in
engineers can
practice,
build
because
a
it's
better
so-
car;
Yeah.
they just can't go faster.
Realistically, in practice, they won't get to that as well. Like it'll happen like once a race, maybe for like one of the cars. Like Hulkenberg reached 350 in Suzuka once. Like the rest of everyone was like 320 max.
Yeah.
Because like the energy requirement as your speed increases, it's exponentially increasing.
Yeah.
So the efficiency of how much energy you use versus how much forward you go, the like bang for your buck drops off crazy
Oh, yeah.
style, which
Yeah,
is
it's
why you
insane.
do lift and twist at the end of the straight. Also, wait. Before we completely bury that message, Ramtan Tama said the Ferrari 499P in WEC is 5-2 in terms of ICE versus EV ratio. That is technically kind of true, but the hypercar regulations, the way it works is you have your motor map setting, which you select how much deployment you do, and the ICE automatically will balance it out so that your output power stays the same the whole time.
Yeah, I was gonna say in
So all you're doing is managing when you're like how much you're using to save fuel, basically.
if I remember correctly, with the World Endurance Championship, their hypercar regulations basically say this is your maximum power output that you can ever do, but you can do it in any mix of any kind of ICE and EV. You can do it in any mix,
Yes.
however you like. Which is why the Valkyrie, the Aston Martin Valkyrie, is 100% ICE. It's
pure
all
in it.
V12 raw power, no electrics.
It does actually have an electric engine connected to the gearbox because it still needs to be able to do the bump start, which is a fun fact. Not
Yeah,
many
and
people
I'm
know.
fairly sure they have to go through the pits on EV power alone. Or am I
Yeah, I
wrong?
think that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shall we
that
move
might be
on?
himself, but I don't think
I-
the Aston does himself. So you
I
might
also
be right.
wonder why this isn't a thing for Formula One. They've clearly got enough
That is
battery
so
for
true,
this.
But I think
Why is
they have the problem. There is some difference in the way they connect the engine to the gear. This is now getting insane.
Yeah, I was going to say Lucy's clearly gone somewhere else here.
The fact
I
that
am-
they don't
I
have,
have my
they don't
coca.
have the engine completely separable from the gearbox even when you pull the clutch in means that, for example, you can't be flat out and charge the battery
Yeah.
because it will be moving the wheel. Like you can't completely disconnect it from the wheels, which I don't. Like, obviously, I think that doesn't really make that much sense. Like they are the best engineers in the world. They can figure it out. They can make it not be that anyway.
It's potentially a thing that they could have done, but for whatever reason they decided not. There's enough going on that I don't think they should have complicated it anymore. But I think that the 4 weeks we've now got off, I think they are going to go and review things. But I don't know what changes they could make that will, other than maybe
Yeah.
artificially lifting the limit and reducing the super clipping. I don't think there's as much they can do.
These cars since like 20 like I want to say like 2019 they have been. Earlier the MG UK wasn't like, I mean they didn't like set it up properly, but like 2019 onwards most cars have it, and now all of them do.
Yeah.
You can start by using their boost
Yeah.
button.
Shall we move on to our Fantasy F1 League?
Yeah.
Because Lucy is tuning out, and I don't think Lucy wants to hear much
I-
more of this technical
I
talk.
did a plushie showcase.
Yeah. So instead of having the what's the distraction thing that they talk about that I can't remember the name of?
Subway Surfers.
That's the one. Lucy's Subway Surfers was Pokemon Showcase.
I actually need Subway Surfers. I'm so serious.
So Neil, are you in our Fantasy F1 League?
I don't play F1 Fantasy because I don't know how it works, and also like I just like don't remember to change anything week on week.
Most people don't. I've been looking at this, and most people just sort of picked a team and then stuck with it. Like for
Yeah,
example,
but I feel like it's not. I don't want to like put my name in if I'm not actually trying. Like I feel like I gotta at least give it an.
What I'm
well-
gonna say is I'm usually in the same boat as you, Neil. I usually forget. I make my
So-
team, start the season, forget, but we've been talking about it every episode on the podcast. And that's
Yeah.
reminded me to go, oh boy, let me go check on it.
Put it this way: for the first two races, Lucy had Fernando Alonso on her team with double points. Shout out to
That's a
Fernando
great shout.
Alonso before we moved on, because he's the first Aston Martin to complete a full race distance.
Yeah, very impressive.
So they're making progress. But looking at Mac in P5, he has Fernando Alonso. So, you know, some people will micromanage this and try hard, and they'll look at everything and they'll change their team every single week. A lot of people just set and forget. So you can do whatever you prefer.
Probably in the latter, but yeah, I'll see then. I also don't know how the format works, but I can find that out
There's no,
myself.
there's,
It's very
there's no,
easy, just pick some fellas.
yeah, I said there's no prizes on
Oh,
this.
but I need to know more than that.
Yeah, there's
I
no
need to know
prizes
more
on
than-
this.
No,
It's
but just being on the top of the point standings is prize enough. Like it's not.
Yeah,
Um,
you get it.
Realistically, like you know.
So interestingly, I remember to check in after qualifying, and you can select the race weekend you're looking at. So I could see who scored the most amount of points after qualifying. Top two was Lucy and then me for the top two for point scorers.
You have to see it.
So after all that of me reminding Lucy to basically drop Fernando Alonso, she did. Took Ferrari and Mercedes as her two constructors, and then just dominated the points for the.
He's got Raikkonen and Sorokin.
Raikkonen and Sorokin is a crazy pull. Sorokin is such an awesome, like it's such an awesome name to pull out, man.
Right. So our actual top three has not changed. So we still got Nick, Caitlin, and Ethan as our top three. I've dropped a little bit, so I'm now P7. I think I was P5 or 6 last race, so I've dropped a little bit. Behrman really let me down. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Tends to be hard to get points if you're
yeah, he was
in the
minus
wall.
14, and then Haas was minus 4, so I got minus 18 overall from that, which was
Tough.
painful. Lucy, you are now 15th overall. So you're no longer
To put
last.
it into perspective, for those that missed it, I got negative points on the first week.
Yeah.
I ended up in the minus overall.
Because you're
How do you even do that? And
Well,
I thought I
you
got
had-
a really good team.
you had double.
I was
you had
crafty.
you had double points Alonso and Bottas. I think you had Perez at the time
And
as
what
well.
about it?
So
yeah, I think I did.
yeah, so you kind of
Oopsie.
but yeah, your new team did pretty well. You outscored me this weekend. Behrman let you down as well, but you didn't have Haas and Behrman, so you're kind of offset there. But you are now not at the back of our 18. A little bit of movement in the middle, but it all depends. It comes and goes because it depends who you've got. I had Hadjar in the first race, so I lost a bunch of points from him crashing out. So
It was mechanical, no? In the first race.
yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, it was kind of funny having the conversation because we did our predictions and we were talking about Aston Martin. Lucy had no idea what was going on at Aston Martin, which was clear when she picked Alonso. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. So we'll see if we can peer pressure Neil into joining.
I'll join.
Yeah.
But, you know.
If anybody else hasn't joined, you should look at the description on YouTube. That will give you the link. I'm going to spam this in our Twitch chat. Can I spam? Yes, I can. There you go. Join. And then if you manage to get yourself up towards the top, we'll call you out. I don't think you can get near the top now because you haven't got a team. I think you
That's
only
probably true.
score. I don't know how it works.
But what if I'm like insane at the game though? What if I'm like just good at it?
Oh yeah, to be fair,
No,
you
I'd
might
probably
just
put it
overtake everyone.
Yeah.
There are actual prizes from Formula One if you finish first overall in the world.
Yeah. That's a bit.
And that's not happening.
Yeah,
People have
so-
spreadsheets and whatnot.
It's interesting because I went and looked. If you go, so for my team that's in our league, I am 800,000th in the world, which is obviously quite
Out
a
of
long
how
way
many?
down. I've got 600 and something points, and the current leader has double that. But they start using some of the special things. So there's chips within this, and you can basically choose any team, no cost cap. So it's all the people that have gone through and used that and picked both Mercedes, both McLarens, Piastri, and like the best scorers. So it's, at this point in time, I think it's artificial who's actually leading. So I think it will change.
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of the case in any championship, right? It matters where you are at the end of the
and you
last round, not where you are right now.
Yeah, and you get to use your special bits and all the rest of it. So it varies, and I think it'll ebb and it'll flow, and we'll just see how things go. But all we've done it for is a bit of fun. That's all it is. And if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. That's all this is for.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's completely free. For anybody who's wondering, you just go on the f1.com website. There's links in there. You can just click the link that I provide, and that'll take you to the right place.
We are not sponsored by F1.
No, there's a few different websites that do this.
Yet.
There's a few different websites that do this, but we're using the official Formula One site. Like I said, it's free to sign up. It's free to play. There's no cost involved. Just a bit of time to set things up and manage it if you want to, but it's just a bit of fun. That's all it's for. There's no prizes on offer. So, yeah. I think that's everything. We've been on for a while. This has been an extra long episode because me and Neil got carried away being really technical.
And I support that. You know,
I had
nothing
even more to
great.
say. That's what's tragic. I've only said like 60% of what I planned to.
Yeah.
Well,
The
you
thing
know what
is,
that means?
It is like it's too long.
We just need to have Neil back. That's
Yeah.
what that means.
Yeah.
Bring him back for the sequel.
the thing is, me and Neil could sit here and talk for 3 hours and get really technical, and nobody would be interested
And we
because
have,
we're far
before.
too technical. So
Yeah.
we've kind of got to put a cap on this. The next race is in Miami because we've had was it Qatar and Saudi Arabia was cancelled.
Yes.
In about 30 odd days. I think it's 4 weeks from
Bahrain
Japan,
and Saudi
something
Arabia, I
like
think, right?
that.
Qatar
Oh,
is at the end.
Bahrain. Yeah, Qatar's at the end. Qatar and Saudi Arabia at the end of the year, aren't they? Something like that. I can't remember. Go and have a look at the calendar on the Formula One website. But Miami is the next one. I think we're going to see a bunch of updates. We're going to see a bunch of software updates mainly, and I think the FIA are going to make some tweaks and changes as well. So keep an eye on the news.
FIA. I'm going to change things for no reason.
Neil,
No,
where
I'm
is your
kidding.
TV show where you talk about breaks for 5 hours? This is that, but there was other things to talk about, so I had to pause on that.
Qatar and Abu Dhabi might be at the end of the year. I believe F1 came out and said they're not replacing those two races. So I don't think.
I mean, it's
that's the
ages
case.
away anyway. Things are going to change.
Yeah, something might change. They might fit it in. If the war carries on, then it's not going to change anyway, and we might have the likes of Qatar and Saudi scrapped anyway. So who knows? We might be ending the season in Brazil.
Bring back the Interlagos finish.
Yeah,
Absolute
I'm
cinema.
down
I am
for
an
that.
Interlagos finale truther. I am such an Interlagos head.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely down for that. I'm gonna have a look now. So Abu Dhabi, Qatar. No, it'd be Vegas would be the last one. And to be fair, people in Vegas would not complain about that being the last race of the season. So that could be a thing. But yeah, Miami's the next one in 30 odd days. I'm going to stop rambling because we're going to get distracted
It's so
by
like
another
to
side project.
me, I found this really frustrating because I was also it was a 1 month championship, the Indian our first FIA recognized esports championship, like national championship, which I qualified for, and I was like doing that, and I was like giving it everything, and so like I missed the start of Shanghai, Suzuka, of all of these because I was like up the previous night practicing, even though it's such a reasonable time for me compared to you guys. It's like so okay, like it's like at 10 a.m. race start, like it's so chill, but like I still managed to miss it. Like it was like, but like what's equally frustrating is that like season finale was last Sunday on the same day as Suzuka, and now we have a month of not me racing or them racing.
Yeah,
So, like,
it always
I'm
falls on the
just
same
doing
weekend,
it.
doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
Right. I'm going to stop talking. You're going to stop talking, and we are going to see you in about 4 weeks' time after Miami.
There's Neil heads in the chat. Thank you for joining us, Neil.
Yes,
There's
thank
a
you.
Having me.
popular demand to have Neil back. Look
Yes.
at that.
That's a beast.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Popular demand.
we'll be happy to have anybody back. If anybody else wants to come on, let us know. I'm sure we can arrange something for.
We're taking guests.
people.
We're taking them.
Yeah, we are now that we know what we're doing. But yeah,
Yes.
thank you for watching, everybody, and we shall see you next time.